lutho akahlulwa lutho uJesu akahlulwa lutho Jesu akahluleki akahlulwa lutho Jesu akahlulwa lutho akahlulwa lutho Jesu akahlulwa lutho ngenze baba ekusebenzeleni sisemhlabeni ngenze baba ekusebenzeleni isisemhlabeni ngenze baba angekusebenzeleni isisemhlabeni Santaki asebeletswa ala Santaki asebeletswa la asebeletswa ala yasebe aye Santiago aye Santiago aye South Africa government aye we are going to all pray. I pray for those who are not here with us today. I pray for those who are going to be part and parcel of the program of today. Also pray for those who backslide the industry for not be here with us today. Say, God, idulo zisasekhona. Indodana yolahleko has taken a bold step forward to say, ngizobuyela ekhaya. Ngiye kubaba and say to my father, here I am. We've got to pray for that. Say the industry. Pray for our mama. Say, Santiago, say no violence in the industry. Santiago, say no human abuse in the industry. We've got to pray for that. Our government to work closely with the industry as well. Let us close our eyes. Baba wethu uNkulunkulu onomusa, mqalisi nomphelelisi Jehova, wena uNkulunkulu othezwini lakho angeke usishiye, angeke usiyekelele, angeke uyidele industry, angeke uyidele iSouth Africa, angeke uyidele ama provinces wethu. I pray for all the prima. I pray for our chairpersons. I pray for our association, all the provinces of Gauteng. Ngegama likaJesu waseNazaretha, uNkulunkulu onomusa moya oyingcwele. I pray for those who backslide. Egameni nasegazini likaJesu. Baba wethu onomusa, the program of today, ngiyayi-anoint egameni nasegazini likaJesu uNkulunkulu wokuthula. Kuba yiloyo naloyo ikhulumi zonke. Give them the right wisdom. Give them the right direction. Kuko konke sizokukhuluma. Baba wethu, we are planning for another years to come. Ngegama likaJesu waseNazaretha, I bless for our program director. I anoint him egameni likaJesu. Manje kuze kube phakade. Amen. Thank you.
Ndimacheron Rico Ribuwa Bishop Nchangase for leading us in prayer and the songs, and we say amen. Let me take this opportunity, greet each one of us as we welcome you to our third day of our session, and recognize and acknowledge and also give respect to all the delegates who are in the hall. We also have some other delegates that had to leave. But let me also acknowledge the presence of our Deputy Minister in the hall with us, the presence of our President of Santaco and the entire leadership at national level, all the provincial leadership that is here with us, my colleague, the Honorable MEC. Let me also acknowledge all the other stakeholders that might not be direct leadership of the taxi industry, but they are here with us. Let me acknowledge the presence of the DG and the HODs that might be here, still here with us. Let me also acknowledge all the officials that are part of the team. They are working with us from the Minister and Deputy Minister's office. Also, let me welcome the leadership, especially of the Women Charter and the Women Desk in Santaco. You are recognized. Let me also acknowledge the media that is with us and those that will be covering. And let me acknowledge each one of you if I have not specifically indicated on the list that I've just done. And also give respect and greet our Honorable Minister who will be joining us virtually. We just have one or two house rules as we start today. I'm going to be requesting that Mr. Fikile will be getting ready to come and work with me in terms of the recap of what we have done in the past 2 days. But the house rules remain the same, all phones on silence and everybody on a mask all the time. There are some lost and found items. In Heathrow room, there were 2 laptops that were found there. For those that have lost the laptops, there is 1 lady's jacket, black, that has been found. We have got Ms. Chauke accreditation card here with us. I'm told you can go to the back and ask for Mr. Ndisa at the security entrance for the people that have lost these items that have been found in Heathrow room. So we have had a successful 2 days where we saw ourselves as government and the industry deliberating on issues that have started. All of us started from the district Lekgotlas. We went to our provincial Lekgotlas, and now we have been here for the past 2 days, and we are saying we want to make sure that our industry comes out top. We want to make sure that the industry that is actually occupying so much space in public transport should be able to be formalized, to be recognized, and give the best of what it can offer to the communities. Customer care has been one of the issues. Economic empowerment has been one of the issues that we are looking at. And for the past 2 days, all the speeches from when we're being welcomed by the president, by our minister, and all the deliberations in the commissions today we conclude. So Mr. Fikile will just come give a highlight on the recap of what we did yesterday. And then from there, we are going to be inviting the DG, Mr. Muemi, to come and do the presentation on the declaration. Let's welcome him as he's walking to the stage. Let's motivate him by the hands.
Good morning, Program Director. Good morning, Minister, Deputy Minister, President of Santaco, DG, HODs, and delegates. Mine is a simple task. Yesterday, we started the day with the commissions, which were robust and dealt with the issues incisively. And in the afternoon, we came back to plenary, colleagues, and all the reports were presented. and we must commend the rapporteurs and the scribes for a job well done, how they packaged the report, and how the discussions went smoothly, and points that required clarity were clarified, and all the reports of the commissions were adopted. And as a consequence of that, we then started the process of consolidating the reports which were received from all the commissions. I think, Program Director, that process is now what we are concluding today. I don't want to preempt that process by getting into the details because we had discussed sufficient details. But the most important thing as well that has happened yesterday with the commissions, that all the inputs, as the Program Director had indicated, that we started with the provincial Lekgotlas, the reports from those provincial Lekgotlas and the engagements with stakeholders were consolidated and presented to each commission. And we're therefore happy that we know that each commission took those into account in packaging the resolutions and the deliberations that happened at the commissions. Thank you, Program Director.
Thank you for the recap of what happened and transpired yesterday. We are then going into the next item where I'm going to invite the DG to come and do the presentation of the draft declaration and compact of the issues that we have been dealing with. After that, we'll just request one or two issues if ever you feel they are not sufficiently covered. If we feel they are not sufficiently covered, we should remember that the declaration will speak, but yesterday we also saw all the recommendations that were done in commissions have been thoroughly processed, and we see that the recording has been done. DG, over to you.
Good morning, Program Director MEC Lorula, and a very good morning to the Deputy Minister and to all the MECs present here and the President of Santaco and other distinguished guests and participants and delegates to the National Taxi Lekgotla. The declaration has been drawn from the resolutions and the spirit of the Lekgotla over the last 2 days, and it reads as follows. We, the delegates at the National Taxi Lekgotla, gathered at Birchwood Hotel in Ekurhuleni, representing the taxi industry and all its subsectors, government, and various organs of civil society, having noted that the National Taxi Task Team final recommendations remain relevant as a blueprint for a taxi industry that is formalized, effectively regulated, and empowered to grow and sustain its business. That unity remains a challenge in the taxi industry, and achieving such unity will play a pivotal role in ensuring peace and a safe environment for commuters, drivers, and other road users. The significance of the historical processes since the advent of democracy, which led to the establishment and the recognition by government of the South African National Taxi Council, Santaco, as an apex industry representative body. The taxi industry continues to operate in the fringes of the formal economy, with limited benefit from the industries it supports through its massive buying power. But regulation of the industry remains weak and fragmented, and enforcement of the law further undermined by public servants and officers of the law who have business interest in the industry. This declaration is a compact among the parties and is amplified by the detailed resolution of the Lekgotla, believing that integrity, accountability, representativity, and morality are the key values for unity and effective leadership. Gender-based violence, femicide, and discrimination against the LGBTQI plus community is a major obstacle to the achievement of equality, development, and peace. It robs women, girls, and members of the LGBTQI plus of their human rights and freedoms as enshrined in the country's constitution. That the fourth industrial revolution presents opportunities for growth and innovation for the taxi industry to propel itself into the digital era with the adoption of the cutting-edge technologies that meet commuter evolving transport needs. That illegal operations have detrimental impact on the sustainability of taxi operations and create perverse incentives for conflict and criminality. Affirming that the taxi industry's commitment to the realization of the National Taxi Lekgotla vision encapsulated in its core message, taxi industry, towards a peaceful coexistence and shared prosperity. We therefore commit ourselves to an action plan with defined timeframes that will take the formalization, regulation, and empowerment of the taxi industry to its logical conclusion, which must transform the industry to a sustainable industry that owns its value chain, to an implementation process guided by a joint industry government working group whose mandate is to exercise oversight over implementation of the resolutions, guided by relevant government processes to ensure legality and rationality of actions contained in the action plan. On leadership, the Lekgotla affirms Santaco as an apex industry leadership body, premised on the principle of values that must govern the election of leaders onto council position in a manner that affirms their leadership of the industry, free from any bias towards a particular association, whether perceived or real. To affirm Santaco as a professional body, which must be empowered to develop norms and standards and manage certain processes within the industry. This is premised on the principle that the minister must be given legal powers to recognize a single industry representative body and prescribe certain functions to be performed by such a body. We, however, remain committed to the ideal of bringing all other formations, including meter taxis and e-hailing, under a single unified national council for taxis. On empowerment, the Lekgotla believes that we should provide subsidy to the taxi industry as an integral part of the economic model aimed at ensuring long-term sustainability of the industry, to an empowerment model underpinned by the principle that economic benefits must cascade to all operators in the industry. Such empowerment model must be anchored on formalization, which includes the establishment of business entities, subsidization of the industry, and partnerships with government on the rollout of public transport infrastructure and integrated public transport networks. We believe that we should move to a reimagined taxi recapitalization program, which must effectively transform the economics of the industry in a meaningful way. We are committed to putting measures and interventions aimed at influencing the economic variables within the industry's value chain, including those aimed at alleviating the impact of high costs of finance, to the introduction of an electronic fare collection system in order to reduce the handling of cash. On regulation, the Lekgotla believes that we should move towards a regulatory framework anchored on the principles of modernizing processes, characterized by reduced turnaround times in the operating license process value chain, which includes reduced gazetting periods and a turnaround time of 60 days. To the recognition of associations through registration process, supported by a panel of assessors attached to the relevant entity charged with the responsibility to maintain the association register. To a moratorium on new operating licenses until supply and demand can be reassessed and dormant operating licenses identified. Such moratorium is premised on the principle that once a province completes the relevant processes to determine demand and supply and are able to determine the number of operating licenses required, such moratorium may be lifted. Towards the implementation of industry sectoral determination and compliance with labor laws. To strengthen law enforcement in a consistent manner that affirms the supremacy of the rule of law and ensure respect for the rules of the road and eliminate the culture of lawlessness. On professionalization and customer care, the Lekgotla believes that it should pay serious attention to passenger issues and the introduction of standards on the treatment of commuters and other road users. This must be reinforced by a complaint mechanism that ensures consequences for negative conduct. An accredited and certified training program must underpin skills development interventions aimed at upskilling operators. Gender-based violence, femicide, and discrimination against members of the LGBTQI+ has no place in the taxi industry. Penalties and sanctions for those who perpetuate these crimes and are found guilty must be sanctioned as an operator. The abuse of women, the girl child, and people with disabilities, as well as the LGBTQI+ community, must be reported and decisively acted upon. The clarion call of the Lekgotla, therefore, is to call upon all stakeholders and all subsectors within the industry to forge a compact aimed at transforming the industry into a formalized and professionalized economic sector that delivers world-class services to majority of commuters within the Republic. We imagine and envisage a future wherein the taxi industry is an important contributor to the economic development, the tax base of the country, and livelihoods of operators involved in the sector. We call upon all those involved in the value chain of the taxi industry to join hands with government and other stakeholders in achieving these noble objectives. So there is the declaration of the Lekgotla.
Thank you, DG. I'm sure the hands were saying it has sufficiently covered all the issues. Unless maybe there is one or two issues that want to be raised, I'll see it by a show of hand. I can see one hand, 2, 3, 4. I will not do the second round. This will be the only round. This is 3, this is 4, and that's the 5th. Okay, we'll start there at the back. Do we have a roving mic? Can the mic go there? We are making a comment on the declaration after all the resolutions from the commissions have been made. So I'll request that you are very minimal. It's not starting new discussions. You are on the floor, Tate.
Thank you. My name is Williams. I'm from the Western Cape. There's one last item which I see as the oversight. I participated in the regulatory commissions, and I've noted all the comments from the other commissions, but this is a burning matter that affects all of us in the industry. And the item is ARTO. Nobody mentioned it. I'm not sure if this is the right platform to raise it, because I know ARTO has already been promulgated. But since government has now undertaken to empower us, I would request, since government is here, to look at the form of amnesty and suspend the implementation of ARTO, because when I look at the implications it means for us as owners and for drivers. I wouldn't like to go into the matters now, because I've looked at the draconian legislation enshrined in that document. That's all I want to say for now, Madam.
Thank you. Thank you. The second hand is here.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I just need to seek clarity on just one point, because I think it wasn't explicit enough in the conclusion of what we've discussed today. I would like the DG to be more explicit on the issue of e-hailing, because in most of our discussions and deliberations yesterday, there was a huge discussion in regards to that. So can it be more explicit on what we agreed upon? Because I don't want to be seen in this house here to be leaving this place as people who have agreed on something that we haven't discussed and elaborated on how it's going to be implemented moving forward.
Thank you.
It's just that.
Thank you. The next hand is here.
Thank you, Program Director. I don't know whether it was overlooked, but the point on the regulations that talked to the separate responsibilities between SARS and the PREs with regard to the issuing of operating license, recommendation there was a divorce between the two. Thanks.
Thank you. The other hand is this side. The other hand is this side. Can we get a mic? Okay, you're on the floor.
Morning, everybody. My name is DJ Ntonyana from Gauteng. Mine is very short. I see there by the conflict and everything, I see something that left it. There are some associations in Gauteng that did receive the verdict. And those verdicts, they are not being implemented since from 2010 and 2011, verdicts are out, but nobody's implementing those verdicts. So I think it's only the misprint to say they never put it there. Secondly, I request maybe the conference or the department, they can maybe form the team who's going to implement all these resolutions in the past. Thank you.
Thank you. The last hand was at the corner. Oh, yes. After that, there was the last one, so we'll be done.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm Sina Mungalo from Northwest. There are two issues which have been omitted. The first one was recognition of women in leadership in Santago structure, whereby it was mentioned that about 30% of leadership should be women. Secondly, there is a submission which they indicated that one association in one municipality stroke town should be recognized as well. Thank you.
Thank you. The last hand, are you covered? Okay. Thank you very much. President?
Good morning, Deputy Minister, the MECs, the DG, colleagues from the taxi industry. Dear MPs, I want you to forgive me before I make this particular statement. I know it's a very sensitive statement. I think today, even if you can hear that I'm no more alive, I will be the happiest person in my grave that we have achieved this. I can indicate that with those little omissions here and there which you are referring to, what is in this document, I don't think we need extra. You know, you cannot put everything in a document of this kind. This is a declaration. Secretary General of the Women Desk. Let me respond to that, and I think it was clarified yesterday. It's true we are going to deal with this issue of the women, but let me give you this assurity that it will be dealt with within the Santaco itself to ensure that the resolution that has been taken here, the 30% is a guarantee. If you are strong enough, you can take over the 100%. So don't go for small things. Just go for the big ones of taking completely over. And on the issue of associations, I think let us engage after all this. And I'll indicate to you, I've never seen so much powers handed over into our hands as a taxi industry. With other words, out of this Lekgotla, what is it that we are going to do? We are going to look into things that we must put in place so that we can govern the contents of this document. Ourselves, the contents of this document, where it is affecting us and where it needs government, will go to government. But this is the Taxi Lekgotla declaration. So, DG, while maybe you will be responding, I don't know where, because I think I've protected you in responding. So, I want to say on behalf of the taxi industry, Deputy Minister, on behalf of the taxi industry, we say this is what we wanted to be discussed. This is what we wanted to be articulated and inscribed in this document. We therefore support and become part of this declaration. Thank you.
Thank you, President, for the addition on the comments. I'm going to invite the DG to come summarize and move for the adoption of the declaration. We need to adopt the declaration, DG. As the presenter, you need to come and move for it so that then I do not infringe on that space. I just chair the program.
Honorable Chair, thank you very much. I, however, don't need to respond after what the President has said. And I don't think we should go there, having had the President actually move for the adoption of the declaration. But to formalize the process, we would therefore, having had the mover, and we would take it that President, you are moving. Can I confirm?
No, the first Deputy President of Santaco has been tasked.
Okay. May I call for the mover for the adoption of the declaration as an embodiment of the true spirit of what occurred at this Lekgotla? Can I see hands? The roving mic to come here. Please state your name and your province, and so we can have it recorded that you move. Which one? You can even come to here if... okay.
I'm Boy Zondi, the first Deputy President of Santaco. I move for the adoption of the document. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have a seconder for that motion? There's a hand there.
Serame Sebeho, Northwest PTC Chairperson. I second.
Thank you. Is there any vehement objection to this motion? Is there any objection at all to this motion? Can I see the support of the motion by a show of hands?
Amen.
It's a forest of hands, Chairperson. It's adopted. Thank you.
Let's give ourselves another round of applause.
You still want?
Thank you very much. The beginning and the continuation of the existence of the taxi industry has just been stamped by all of us who are here today. My colleagues, the MECs, we can witness that even when we go back to our provinces, we have got structures that we are going to work with. We have got structures that are going to support us on the quest of solving the problems and also on the empowerment. So let's give ourselves a round of applause. As I invite the President to come and endorse what has just happened. President.
DG, before I endorse, are we going to get an increase on our grant? Before I endorse this, Program Director, with your permission, can I please ask the members of the task team, those who are here, the task team of the minister, it's not my task team. Can I ask the members of the task team of the minister just to come forward here, please? Just for 1 minute. I know there are other members who are not here, but this task team was led by Lawrence Fikile. Guys, I just want to say on behalf of the taxi industry that we want to thank you very much. We know that you had sleepless nights. You were working very hard to put even the whole work of this Lekgotla together. I just want to say to you that what you have done will never be forgotten by the industry. And DG, please convey our message to the minister that the taxi industry has never believed that in such a short time, the minister would have rolled such big rocks. I therefore, on behalf of the entire taxi industry in the country, endorse the declaration as supported by my colleagues. Thank you very much.
We glorify your holy name. We glorify your holy name. We glorify your holy name, Kawel.
Oh, we glorify,
we
glorify your holy
your
name.
holy name,
Kawelamaka.
we glorify.
Oh, we glorify,
We glorify
your holy
your
name.
holy name,
Kawelamaka.
we glorify.
Oh, we glorify,
We glorify
your holy
your
name.
holy name.
Kawelamaka.
Oh, we glorify. Glorify
your holy
your
name.
holy name, Kawela. Oh, we glorify. Glorify your holy name, Kawela. Oh, we glorify. We glorify your holy name. Oh, we glorify. We glorify your holy name. Oh, we glorify. Glorify your holy name. Oh, we glorify. Glorify your holy name. Oh, we glorify. For sure. Glorify your holy name. Oh, we glorify. Glorify your holy name. Oh, we glorify. Glorify your holy name. Oh, we glorify. We glorify your holy name. Oh, we glorify. Glorify holy name. Oh, we glorify. Glorify your holy name. Viva Santaco, viva! Viva Santaco, viva! Viva President Taibosh, viva!
Viva!
Viva Minister Mbalula, viva!
Viva!
Viva Tishim Yemi, viva!
Viva!
Amanda!
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We are now ready to cross over to welcome the Honorable Minister, Honorable Fikile Mbalula, to address us. As we know that he's going to be joining us, he has already joined us virtually. We are just going to then now allow the time for the team to connect us so that then the Honorable Minister can talk to us. I think let's welcome him with a round of applause.
Thank you, Program Director. Thank you, Program Director. MEC Lerule Ramakanya, Deputy Minister Medical Makatsi, members of the Executive Councils responsible for transport, roads, and traffic safety. Director General, Mr. Alec Muemi, the President of Santaco, Mr. Tybosh, and the entire leadership of Santaco and the taxi industry. Ladies and gentlemen of the press and fellow South Africans, as we conclude the National Taxi Lekgotla, we must remind ourselves as to why we started this process in the first place. We may have come to the end of this Lekgotla, which was characterized by robust and intense engagements on a variety of issues that have relevance in shaping the future of the taxi industry. We are starting another journey towards the implementation of the issues we have agreed to. A Chinese proverb that says, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step, resonates with the process. We are on the final started with the launch of the public discourse platform, culminating in the provincial Lekgotla. The success of this Lekgotla and e-hailing in order to engage in a meaningful and decisive conversation. The declaration we adopted this morning is a testament of our determination to tackle the intractable challenges confronting this industry. This is a community has no place in the industry is welcome. We must then take decisive action to eliminate this cancer that casts a shadow on the taxi industry. Today, the taxi industry has proclaimed loud and clear that it will not tolerate anyone using violence as a means to achieve their narrow self-serving ends in its name. This is a bold and unprecedented step that future generations will smile upon. A commitment to the sectoral determination for the taxi industry and ensuring compliance with the country's labor laws is a welcome development, worthy of celebrating. These steps are an expression of an industry poised to shed its image as a relic of the past and ready to embrace its future as a professional industry that places the interest of the commuters, the workers, and other road users at the center of its operations. Your pronouncement that in embracing and affirming Santaco as an apex industry representative body requires a paradigm shift in how leaders of the National Council ascend to leadership positions. This paradigm shift must find expression in the internal processes of Santaco, which may require a review of some of its prescripts, including its constitution, in order to effectively play its role without fear or favor or prejudice. Affirming values that must underpin the election of individuals in such roles is a demonstration of your commitment to ethical and visionary leadership. Bold pronouncements about the role of the industry in developing, maintaining, and operating public infrastructure requires additional work we must undertake collectively. Resolutions that require policy and legislative shifts must be subjected to this process to ensure all our actions that finally find expression in the action plan pass legal and rationality muster. We must commend your resolve to find a sustainable foundation on which to base an economic empowerment model that will catapult this industry into a prosperous future. The reimagining of the taxi recapitalization program as an instrument to advance the transformation of the economics of the taxi industry is premised on the reality that we must maximize value for the industry from the current investments in order to build capacity for the taxi industry to own its value chain. The participation of this industry in the subsidy scheme is no longer a pipe dream, but a realizable goal we intend to see becoming reality in the coming financial year. Various business models were considered by the Lekgotla, and your commitment to consider the mix, which include companies, banking cooperatives, public companies, is encouraging, and government remains ready to work with you on the modalities of the selected model. An effective regulatory model remains one of the critical cornerstones of a sustainable industry that adds value to the economy. Our collective commitment to strengthen the regulatory model, underpinned by the supremacy of the rule of law, cannot be overemphasized enough. This commitment must be reinforced by tangible actions we take in uprooting corruption and maladministration in the processing of operating licenses and in upholding the law. While the law must bite in respect of the operators who continue to violate its provisions, it must equally sting public servants and officers of the law who use their positions of authority to advance their personal economic interests in the industry. This is a non-negotiable that will find expression in our efforts to implement a robust regulatory model steeped in fairness and in ensuring the constitutional injunction that all citizens are equal before the law is a lived reality. The registration of associations and effective regulation of e-hailing services are urgent tasks that we need to attend to in order to eliminate perverse incentives for conflict. The National Land Transport Amendment Bill is currently before the President for assent, and we are hopeful that it will be signed into law in no time. As I indicated in my opening address, our ability to ensuring sustainable traction in our efforts to find a lasting solution to unity lies in the industry speaking in one voice. The door remains open to NTA for us to continue to engage and find each other in moving towards a common vision. Our respect for the constitutional principle of freedom of association entrenched in our Bill of Rights is unquestionable. Ensuring that industry has an umbrella body that advances the interest of all operators is not at odds with the right of those operators to associate. In achieving the milestone of the outcomes we have agreed to at this Lekgotla, I must express gratitude to the Minister of Finance, Minister Tito Mboweni, the Minister of Labor, Minister Tula Singesi, and the Commissioner of SARS Mr. Edward Kisvater, for their support and ensuring that their institutions are represented at this Lekgotla. I will appoint a panel of eminent persons to take further the matters related to unity and leadership. This panel will look at the modalities of the unified taxi industry, including the iterations of how the subsectors will work within the confines of a single industry body. The next steps in taking this process forward is the establishment of a joint team to oversee the implementation and guide other processes that must result in a full-scale implementation of what we agree to. This will be a team that is made up of representatives from the industry and government. This team will take forward the consultation process with other stakeholders, more so on all matters not fully ventilated at this Lekgotla. The team will complement the work of government in exercising its legal mandate to govern, develop policy, initiate legislation aimed at giving expression to matters that we have agreed upon. The task team will further explore the different considerations and models expressed at this Lekgotla, including finalization of a full implementation plan with accompanying timeframes. It is expected that the team should report back to the minister within the next 3 months. Allow me to thank each one of you for the hard work and commitment you have shown in this process. As you make your way to your destinations, travel safely and arrive alive. I thank you.
I think another round of applause will do. Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for the closing remarks. I cannot add, I cannot say more than what the Minister has said, and I think those are marching orders that we are going to be doing as we go forward. We are then moving with our program. For the past 2 days, the Minister has joined us through virtual, but we had the DM with us holding the fort. For the past 2 days, today is the 3rd day, we had the DM with us, and she was in all commissions, moving around and making sure that all the things are intact, and we never felt the gap that we are seeing the Honorable Minister through virtual. And I think as we invite her now to come do the vote of thanks, I think she deserves just a standing ovation for us. We stand and welcome her to the podium as she does the vote of thanks on behalf of all of us, MECs from all provinces.
Thank you. Yo. Thank you very much. Let's get seated. Wow. Whew. Thank you very much, MEC Luruli. I need to acknowledge the presence of the MEC from KZN, Ntatentuli. If you can just raise your hand so that people can see you. Also acknowledge the MEC Mashinini from Free State. But also acknowledge the other MECs, MEC Tikana, MEC Lehari, MEC Bloom, who were with us here until yesterday, an indication that this has been endorsed by all the provinces. Even the provinces which were not here, province of Mpumalanga and the province of Gauteng, have been represented by the captains of the industry. Minister Mbalula, I felt my heart being torn apart because you have worked so hard to realize this where we have arrived. And when quarantine was made sure that you are not with us here, pelo ya ka e nnile bohloko hore how do you work so hard and then you don't even enjoy the fruits of your labor? Ntate Taibosh, we can't thank you more. An indication that we are moving towards the real unity. Director General of the Department of Transport in the Republic of South Africa, what a job with your team. The HODs from all the provinces. This has been a united force that we cannot go unnoticed. Let's give a round of applause for the HODs and the DG and the team, particularly the task team led by Ntate Venkile. As I'm standing before you, there's a song I can't even remember. Ba re he ke ratang ka tlola ka bontsha lethabo. No, nka se tjole. You hear ba go skukune ba re ke tjole, nka se tjole. Ha ke ratang ka tlola ka bontsha lethabo. You know, I've got joy in my heart. And the reason why I've got joy in my heart is the way the entire Lekgotla has gone. My gratitude will go to the delegates. That is why I'm saying I've got joy in my heart, because robust as you were, you ended up giving us what we were anticipating. I want to say, those who are not here, the CEO of AXA, who was a program director, the president of SALGA, who came here to give us words of encouragement, Mr. Eric Munyai from COSATU, your contribution to this Lekgotla is something that will be written in the books of history. Basebenzi baphakamile. You know, this Lekgotla would not have been what it was had it not been for the minister and the president to grace this Lekgotla virtually. And I think you will be taking home the messages of both the minister in the opening and now as he closes. But importantly, you should be able to take to heart and take home what the Honorable President, His Excellency Cyril Ramaphosa, has said to us as he was addressing us. There were many people who came and made presentations here, and we need to acknowledge, as has been acknowledged by the Minister, the Department of Treasury, and every other person who has been here. They really showed that we're taking the industry into consideration, and we can't go wrong with the declaration that we have had today. We really will not be able to go wrong. But most important, I need to say, we had the media teams here, all the media persons who were here throughout Lekgotla. We thank you heartily. Because if it's not for you, we will not be heard. If it's not for you, people will not be able to know what exactly has been transpiring here. DG, as has been indicated by the minister, we're looking forward to fast-tracking and making sure that these resolutions that have been coined in this Lekgotla package with the declaration are speedily executed. Banna le basadi ba Santaco, banna le basadi captains of the industry, I need to applaud you for one thing. The hall is still full until today as we are closing. Wow. As it has been said, this is very remarkable. I went to the commissions and I could see the concentration, I could see the seriousness within which you are taking this that was happening. Clap your hands for yourselves. Swakala leswi. Swakala leswi. You really don't get this type of things. That's what I'm saying. Swakala. It's a rare thing to find a conference going on until the last hour, that people are still seated, people are still concentrating. Swakala. Dikonyoko leboha batho bote. Di re musi ri tshitiwa ri tshiya hayani kha ri tshimbile zwavhuḓi. Ni la ku khensa hinkwenu that when you go home, travel safely and always remember to ori you must arrive alive. Ndifuna kuthi nonke mase siphindele emakhaya sihambe kakuhle and know very well that we obey the rules of the road. Mudzula chidulo wa namusi. Thank you very much. Ka chichaba chote, arrive alive and drive safely. Thank you very much.
The DM has just closed the session, but there's just one announcement that there's going to be a media briefing just now. The table in front, they will not move. They will be joined by the MEC, Mashinini, and the DG will come to the front. And I'm brief, Barry. Those that will want to remain, you can remain. Those that have to go, you can go. You are free. The DM has just officially closed the session. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to request that we please try and vacate this area as speedily as possible so that the media briefing can get underway. We're just asking that we maybe move the networking session to outside these parameters. So you're still more than welcome to have a chit chat. You're more than welcome to deliberate and have conversations with friends and colleagues from different parts of the country. But we request that you do so outside those doors, please. Thank you very much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to close the door. I'm going to request that all those who wish to remain for the media briefing then take their seat and that we can be as quiet as humanly possible so that we can begin. The minister is already waiting for us. He's on standby. Our camera operators who are here as well as the journalists are also ready. So please, if you are going to remain, please note that you will do so for at least an hour and we will require absolute silence, please. Yeah. We're ready? Okay, I'm going to ask that the doors at the back be closed, please, ladies and gentlemen. Director General is here. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good day to you once again. Thank you so much for availing yourself. This next session is strictly a media Q&A, so I'm going to request that if you have any additional questions that you would like to ask, you can surely make use of the opportunity to engage with some of the task team members who are scattered about here. But those who will be permitted to ask questions of the minister as well as the panelists here before us are only to be the media, please. Thank you very much for that. Ladies and gentlemen, you've heard from the minister, you've heard also from the Director General and the Deputy Minister. The declaration has been sent to you via electronic copy, and those who require the minister's speech, that will also be made available to you. So we're not going to have an opening address per se, but what we are going to do now is ask the journalists who have any questions to do so. May we please have a roving mic in front here so that we'd all be able to hear the questions being posed? Thank you very much. Preferably two, ne? That we can sanitize. Thank you. Colleagues, I'm going to ask that we take the microphones and set them up here so that whoever's going to be speaking can come to the podium, because you're going to have difficulties if you would like to engage some of the MECs. We do have MECs from the province who are represented here, so should any one of them need to speak, you're going to have to be moving the mic around. So let's maybe use the podium as the setup, please. Do we have the microphone so long so we can start posing the questions? Where's the roving mic? Thank you so much. Could we please pass the roving mic to the floor? Thank you so much. Colleagues, I'm going to ask, before you ask the question, just to introduce yourself, the media house that you represent, and then fire away. Yes, please, so everybody can hear.
Testing. Is it fine? Good morning, everyone. My name is Zikona Chona from Newsroom Africa. A question for Santako and maybe the minister. From Santako, I just want to know what were your challenges ahead of this gathering? What were you hoping that this gathering would address? And on your side, what are the key things in the declaration that you are happy with? And then to the minister, what do you think is the biggest challenge that is facing the relationship between government and the taxi industry?
Thank you, Zikona. Colleagues, I think we can take about 3 or 4 questions in this round. Next question. Sorry, I'm going to ask that the mic be turned on or made a little bit louder so that they can hear us on the other side. The minister's listening in virtually, so he'd need to hear. We can hear Lindo in the room, but we need to hear you a little bit louder for the minister. Can we increase the volume, please?
All right. Okay. Lindo Guhle from ENCA. DG, I think this one will be for you. You said that in a briefing on Friday, if I'm correct, yes, on Thursday, that you cannot put your head on the ground like ostriches and pretend that NTA does not exist. And we are seeing now that there is a declaration that Santako is the leading organization as far as the taxi industry is concerned. Just what that means, particularly because you also said that you continue to engage with them. Now, this declaration brings about certain questions. Also, let me end there for now. I need to gather my thoughts. Thank you, DJ.
Thank you, Lindo. Any other question from the floor for this round? All right, thank you so much. So I suppose the questions are threefold. The key things that Santako had hoped to achieve, the challenges. Minister, this question was posed to you. DG, NTA, and the absence from the declaration, your response thereof. Minister, are you happy to take the first sweep, or would you like me to delegate this side? DG. So perhaps take to the podium. I'm going to ask you to address, and I'll ask the Santako president to then also give his response. The minister will speak thereafter. DG?
Thank you very much. Good morning to Minister, to the panelists in the press conference. The question about the NTA, this is provided for in the declaration. The declaration states quite clear that the minister would proceed, and even in his closing address he said so. He will appoint a panel of eminent persons that will continue to explore the issue around bringing everybody. It is not just about NTA. It's also about the meter taxis as well as the e-hailing providers. how and the modalities of how they are going to operate within a single industry body. Government affirms in the declaration adopted by conference its commitment to working towards that single industry body. In between then and now, Santaco is the apex body. It has always been since 1996. That has not changed, and at this conference, that position was reaffirmed. It may be that perhaps the views of NTA have not been heard, but nevertheless, they were invited to be here. They have chosen not to participate. But importantly is that Minister states quite clear the roadmap from here to next, that panel will continuously engage. But up until that happens, government's recognition of Santaco and government's support and working with Santaco will remain the key issue. I think that was what was asked to me. Oh, okay. All right. The challenge is really had been and always been. It's a love-hate relationship. Maybe Santaco from the onset should have been a public entity, like any of the entities of the state that are tasked to do certain things. The regulation of the taxi industry would have been much more easier. But we opted for a bit of self-regulation by Santaco as an apex body and registering associations, recognizing that and looking at members and the member interests, and also being a shop steward type of a body that speaks on behalf of the industry at the table of government. So that should have been perhaps a route, but that was not what was chosen back then. And if we look at going forward, this positioning has been reaffirmed by the Lekgotla, that it should continue, be empowered to be able to deal with this. And therefore, it has always been quite a difficult relationship between the department and Santaco. Sometimes even during the negotiations around the relief fund, you saw the tempers flaring up and you saw name calling and all sorts of things. But nevertheless, we know what brings us together and the importance of what government must do. And therefore, the healthy barriers are important. As the old English idiom says, good fences makes for good neighbors and neighborhoods. And therefore, we know the parameters within which government has got to operate. Its job is to regulate, is to legislate, is to formulate policies and all of that, and oversee. And whereas industry itself, because in truth, this is a business. And President Bosch from time to time reminds me of that this is a business and that operators are in it to make money. So therefore, operators all the time would seek to push the boundaries to make the ease of doing business more easier, and so that they can maximize profit. And in return, the state would want to protect commuters, would want to ensure that other motorists, other road users are that, and therein lies a recipe for permanently and inherent contestation of space. So I think that this has been the challenge up until now. But if I summarize them as bullet points, I would say the issues around subsidy, funding. Obviously, the industry wants that to happen because other subsectors of transport are being funded. This has been the major contestation on the side of industry, that government, you're expecting too much of us, but yet you do not want to subsidize, and we carry the bulk of the commuters. And government's approach all along has been to say it is too expensive and unaffordable. But now, we do recognize that the two must go together. And we are saying, yes, we will subsidize, but this subsidy is not for the operator. It's actually for the commuter. And I think that even Santaco now and the industry has moved to accept that principle, that the subsidization is aimed at the commuter and not necessarily the operator. And therefore, with it and with subsidization, government expects several things in return. It expects them to be formalized and no longer in the fringes of that. And the thing that is unpalatable but is important to be said is that we expect taxation. We expect tax from businesses that operate in the Republic. And finally, we expect professionalization so that the lived experience of the commuter is a much better one than what it has been previously. So I can summarize it that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Director General of the Department of Transport. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear from Santaco President now, Mr. Philip Taibosh.
Good afternoon. Is it still morning? I thought it's in the afternoon. Thank you. Sikona, you asked that what were the challenges before we came here, and what are the key aspects that we believe we came out of this Lekgotla with. Firstly, let me indicate before we came in here, and I think this is an outcry which has been made by society, that the taxi industry sounds and looks as if it's a law unto itself. And we came here looking for an environment which could be created, and also powers that could be devolved on the taxi industry to be able to administer that part to the best of our country, which means it is the lawlessness in the taxi industry, the employment of our drivers, the security on our commuters, all those things. We came in here knowing that they are challenges. But two, what we came in here is that we came in very confused, because we thought that the conference in Durban in 2001 was saying to Santaco that as a governing of the body of the taxi industry, you are now at liberty to govern the industry, not taking into consideration the aspects of being empowered legally to do so. And we believe that that part, government has addressed it very clearly under regulations, under empowerment, and under professionalization. I think that's what we came in with in this meeting. But what is important from this Lekgotla is that we go back as a taxi industry very much reinforced and convinced that we can change the face and the manner in which this industry is doing its business. With other words, we cannot have a situation where you find people in your industry working but not being guaranteed, and people not even knowing what is there tomorrow. But I must hasten to indicate to you guys in the media, know that you are going to watch me, that all these things, remember we have been here since the 70s. All these things, we need them to happen. But please afford us time, that we don't make mistakes, we do these things. But we also here to really applaud government for putting its feet down on its promises, especially when it comes to the taxi recapitalization program, where government has promised that it will start the program. Its intention is for the taxi industry to take over this program. And hence, this conference was actually emphasizing the point around the empowerment. I'm sure you know that we've been consumers most of our time, and what we want to do, we want to ensure that this black represented industry is now producing the necessary fruits for its members and for its workers. And on the issue of professionalization, I think that is very much welcomed. We will now begin to use our training center, including TITA, to ensure that we really, not what we discussed here, we really go down to train the operators, to train the drivers, and to an extent, to train our commuters. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, President Taibosh. Minister, perhaps we can now hear from you before we open for another round of questioning.
Thank you, Ayanda. Thank you, Ayanda. The reason we convened the Lekgotla is to agree with the taxi industry on the following issues. Formalization. We need that to agree that we have the same understanding with the industry about what we mean by formalization of the industry. Because the taxi industry is operating on the fringes of informal economy, of formal economy. As a result, is characterized as an informal sector. So we need to bring them to the fold. That's what we want as government. And in this Lekgotla, that's the first thing top on the agenda. We wanted agreement on. They must tell us that they agree on this and how we are going. They must agree on how we see this formalization being undertaken. Because from here, we are going to implement. People are tired of slogans. People are tired of rhetoric. If taxi industry has got reservations on the issue of formalization as a first issue, the task team that I'm going to set up will continue to negotiate on those particular issues we don't agree on. It's not like we come here with a gun to the taxi industry to agree on these issues. That's the first thing. So we are agreed now on this question of formalization in terms of how, and it's not like something that must happen after 10 years. From here, I'm going to cabinet. I must respond to the president and cabinet colleagues and say, I've had a taxi Lekgotla. Those who were not in the fold, I've also engaged with them. This is what I'm implementing. And then cabinet will agree with us, and then we go forward. That is why you've got Treasury here. That is why you've got Department of Labor here. Critical. I didn't have the Minister of Small Business because of commitments, and the people were not party to this. And the police also are not party to this in relation to law enforcement. But I do have RTMC under us, and local government is here in relation to what must happen to issues of regulation in as far as rule of law. I don't want slogan that rule of law must be implemented. What are the impediments for the taxi industry for the implementation of the rule of law? Operators, we are agreed now that everybody must operate within the fold. All of that must be implemented. Legislation in the context of the national land transport will be empowered and all of that. From here, in terms of e-hailing, I expect the president at his own pace and time, empowered by this Lekgotla, to now sign into operation the regulation of the e-hailing operators in the context of the national amendment of the National Land Transport Act in this country. Now, there's no taxi, Uber that is going to go up and down here unregulated going forward. This Lekgotla empowers us that that must be brought to conclusion and be concluded because e-hailing has been operating in our country without any regulation. And that is what is important for us. And it has been a major point of difference between us and the taxi industry, the issue of formalization and regulating of the industry. And I'm happy coming out of here that we are agreed in terms of what needs to happen. We must agree on the issue of unity. And I'm happy that Santaco is still affirmed as the apex body of the industry. Of course, NTA doesn't agree with that. But the government, from our side, this has been the situation, and we want everybody to operate within that particular fold. And we will engage on the issues of unity, and those who are outside, how do we bring them in? So there's no discussion that is endless about it. We set in motion this process of engagement. So we invited everybody to participate and make an input, and for their reasons, they did not agree. They don't recognize this Lekgotla, but this Lekgotla is a Lekgotla convened by government to seek agreement on a whole range of issues with the taxi industry. So we're moving ahead in relation to that, and I've explained that the door is open for engagement, and I've explained that also to NTA, that we will continue to engage on this particular issue with them. And that the eminent persons will basically take these matters forward in relation to the question of unity. But that does not mean that I'm going to hold back to implement the resolutions of the Lekgotla. I'm moving ahead to implement the resolutions on recapitalization, on the issue of subsidy. I'm moving ahead. I'm empowered now by the Lekgotla of the taxis industry to move ahead with the taxi industry. I'm now going to establish an action team that is going to work with the taxi industry for the implementation of this empowerment model, to unpack it into practice. What do we mean by that? To me, as of Monday next week, I will be having that team, and then I will be having an action plan that is going to implement the resolution of the Lekgotla. Lindo Kuhle, the question you posed to the DG, because I was not part of your press conference on Friday, but just to come back to you and explain to you that it is known, and it is not a backdoor issue. Santaco is the leader of the taxi industry. The fact that you have a body that operates in defiance of that, and it does not agree, as government, we want to bring that body to the fold, and at the same time to try and negotiate this unity with them, because they don't recognize Santaco. They told me in my face that they don't recognize Santaco, and that from 1996 upwards to 2001, they've never been party to this. And they've got their own reasons why they've not. And as Mbalula, the minister appointed by President Ramaphosa, I found that intact. Now, I've said that let's go back and unite. And we can't have many bodies. And we can't go back and reopen all the bodies that were there before. SABTA, all of those bodies. We've got Santaco that has been agreed upon. So if I have to disband Santaco and look at another new body that is agreed upon, it will be a product of the taxi industry itself. It will be a product of the taxi industry itself. I know in certain provinces, like in Gauteng, NTA works with Santaco, they work together, and everybody else, and so on, and the MEC. So in terms of the Lekgotla and the framework that has been agreed on here, we will move with it, and then we will work on this unity, harness it, bring everybody to the fold. But let's not go out and deal with issues on the basis that there is no body that represents taxi industry. Santaco is the body that represents the taxi industry, and it has been affirmed in this Lekgotla. We will move ahead as such. And so I know that we do have NTA that operates there, but we need to negotiate that path with them, and we will find each other going forward. So that is where we basically stand on this particular matter. I am very elated with the resolutions because these resolutions are now empowering me and government to know what I need to do, which is outstanding for the taxi industry. Taxi industry knows that government does not, want formalization. Government will implement formalization. Government is going to regulate the industry in the terms that we have agreed. There are issues that are outstanding. The task team will continue to look at those particular issues going forward. Now, as of Monday going forward, I've got clarity. I'm going to implement subsidy as of the new financial year. That subsidy will focus on compensating the commuter the commuter as of the new financial year. To implement the so 1st of April next year is going to be a new dawn of the implementation of this subsidy. That is what we're doing. Something fundamental, big, new for the taxi industry. We're going to implement. Now, I don't want to sound like one president. I like to use this word fantastic. It is my vocab, but there's another president also who likes this in another world. He's contesting. So he likes to say things are fantastic. Things will happen and all of that. So I'm elated in a way because we are going to have a really, really fantastic future for the industry and for the commuters and uplifting this industry. That include regulating the industry, dealing with the issues. Of course, the violence will be dealt with in the way that we have to deal with. But we've got to deal with violence also from people who fight for territorial battle and all of that. And I'm bringing in a new empowerment model for the industry to realize the value chain. So I'm going to the Lekgotla have empowered me to implement that. So I'm going to work with the banks. I'm going to work with everybody to bring about to fruition this empowerment model, which the Lekgotla have said, Minister, go ahead, implement. So I'm going to implement that. And to ensure that in the next coming year, we launch and we've got a new empowerment model of the industry that is going to benefit the taxi people and all of that. So everybody, all hands on deck. SALGA, local government, MECs are on board. They are part of this Lekgotla. We're going to unpack in action what the resolution actually means of this Lekgotla in terms of practical implementation. Transport department is a concurrent function. I don't do things alone. I work with MECs in the provinces. I work with local government. So all these spheres of government have been together. We have agreed here that we need to give the taxi ranks, to the taxi industry for a much benefit expression of empowerment of this industry. What does that mean in practical terms? Exciting, boom, empowerment, growth for the taxi industry going forward. So these are the resolutions that come out of this Lekgotla, and I seek this Lekgotla for agreement. It is not easy, when people say we are not party to this, we are not party to that. But for me, this is a sunshine industry, and that is what it is also for government. The issues we've been grappling with. This Lekgotla has empowered us to take some of the issues forward. Where we don't agree, we will engage. The issue of the relief fund, the 1 billion rand, I want within a month or so the DG with the team to work with the taxi industry, all of them to come back to me about how I must disburse that money. And then I must go back to cabinet and inform the president, and cabinet must endorse. This is how this money is going to be distributed to the taxi industry. We have agreed that everything else must be regulated going forward, and I'm going to be working with Treasury, and I'm going to be working with SARS on some of what happen. They've been part of this discussion. So, phase of implementation done with 20. Ourselves implementing resolution by resolution. And the exciting parts of this resolution, as they find concrete expression, I will invite you on this journey. So it is a new dawn in a true sense. Packaged nicely for this implementation. There's huge financial implication on some of the decisions we have taken. Huge financial implications. It is get to grips with implementing the resolutions of this Lekgotla. Thank you very much.
May I please just stress that these questions are from media professionals, ladies and gentlemen. Those of us who are here as delegates, you're more than welcome to listen in. You'll have an opportunity to engage the DG in person and a number of other officials who are here. This is just for the media, please. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Anele from EKFM. I was going to ask when are we likely to see this declaration come into play? But I think Minister has covered that as to say on April next year. But this one is for you, DG. When you say these subsidies will be for commuters, I'd like to know how. I'd like to know, Guti, can you explain in terms of how are they going to benefit? Are they going to benefit, or how are they going to benefit on subsidies? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Another hand this side. Lindo?
Thank you. Lindo Gutle from ENCA. I think just to add on what my colleague just said now, they did say that the subsidies will be focused on benefiting the commuter. The MEC of Gauteng as well as CSIR, they did a study and they found that households are spending more and more on transport. Will that be seen in the figures saying that commuters will be paying less, in a sense? And the question that I wanted to ask, the commitment did say that they will be defining, you're committing yourselves to defining timelines as well as what all of these regulations mean. But in its true sense, are we going to be able to be brought into the confidence of all of these entities or stakeholders working together to say that this is exactly what it is, right? Because there are regulations, but we want to know, like the Constitution says, the right to life. That defines on its own, but just that specific understanding, particularly for the commuters and well as the communities out there, to say that at this certain time, you will then be able to say the driver can't park there, the taxi can't do this, the taxi can't do that. And Mr. Philip Taibosh, on your side, I think I used the taxi when I came here on Thursday, and many of your drivers in the taxi rank, MTN taxi rank to be direct, they did not know about Lekgotla. They said, we heard about it and all of that. But now that there's these resolutions and commitments that have been made, what is your action plan in terms of going back to inform your stakeholders and saying that this is what we were doing, this is what the outcome of it is, and this is what it means for the future? What is the action plan that we are likely to see unfold in the taxi industry, particularly from South Africa? Thank you.
Thank you, Lindo. Colleagues, I believe that was the last question, if I may. I think it's also very important to bring to the fore something that Minister Mbalula said. The Department of Transport is a concurrent function, which means there are roles and responsibilities nationally, provincially, as well as at a municipal level. You would have seen via social media and other reports that the minister has traversed the length and breadth of South Africa, attending some of those district Lekgotlas, the provincial Lekgotlas. So in terms of consultation and in terms of representation, we have heard some of the nuances that exist maybe in certain parts of Mpumalanga and may not be reflected in Johannesburg. We've gone there to actually find out what the issues are. There are that are isolated in various parts, but of course there are other issues that are spread across the taxi industry. It is important to hear from all sectors. But I don't want you to take my word from it, for it. I'd like to hear from the going to give us 2-minute remarks just on the processes past, present, and future. And then afterwards, we will then hear from the DM, the DG, Mr. Taibosh, as well as Minister, who will close. So literally just 2 minutes. We do have MECs represented here from the Free State, from KZN, as well as Limpopo. So perhaps in that order, they can address us very quickly and give us their remarks. Thank you very much. MEC?
Thank you very much, and good day to the Minister and all of us. Indeed, from KZN, we concur with the Minister from the Lekgotla that we had last weekend, and we believe we have covered everybody in the province. So our members and our stakeholders were here, having been given a mandate from the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Minister. This is how far we have gone since we started with our Lekgotlas at different provinces in the Free State. We have had our webinars, we have had our regional Lekgotlas, and then finally culminating into provincial Lekgotla. The document that has been adopted by this national Lekgotla, to us, it's a document that we support, and I think we'll have to work very hard with you, Minister, to ensure that the implementation is realized. Thank you very much.
Greetings to the Honorable Minister, DM, and my colleagues and the President of Santaco, and to the media. I think on behalf of Limpopo, the key issues that have been raised at that level, which has been emphasized here, was also on the issues of formalization, was also on the issues of subsidies, also on the issues of customer care. And I think at national level, as we conclude today and the declaration, a reasonable amount of issues have been covered, and we are excited and happy because the commitment of Santaco saying, we are here, you as government, we are ready to work with you. So thank you very much.
The Deputy Minister of Transport.
Thank you very much. For me, what stand out very loud and clear was how the Lekgotla was able to talk to issues of GBV and F, and speaking to all the issues of transformation, empowerment of women. And I think once we are able to implement that, we'll be able to say that the taxi industry is moving towards realizing that it is not just an industry male-dominated, but women also will be able to take part. And excited I am because Santaco will be dealing with the issue which was raised of 30% in all its leadership character. They want to have 30% women or even more. So for me, these are the things which actually I would say, Minister, we have done it, and I would really want to heartily thank the Minister for working so hard for us to can be able to realize and make sure that this sunrise industry goes back to where it belongs. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, DM. Ladies and gentlemen, let's attend to those questions that you had asked. So very quickly, just to recap, DG, the questions are as follows. The subsidies, will you be able to expand on exactly how they would work? A follow-up to that question is the studies that have been released, are they reflected in the way in which the subsidies will be dispersed? And then taxi drivers, do they know about the Lekgotla? How far and wide has the consultation spread? That I think was a question that is forwarded to the President of Santaco. So perhaps let's hear from you, DG. We'll hear from Prez, and then we will ask Minister to close for us.
Thank you. The issue of the subsidy As you know, the subsidies government gives are both direct and also indirect subsidies. Transportation sector, government already delivers both the indirect and direct subsidies. The direct subsidies are things like the PTGO, the Public Transport Operators Grant, which actually is given to the operators, meaning the bus companies, like you know them, Patcos, Golden Arrow, and all those. Then their job is to keep their prices lower so that the commuter pays lesser. This is the thing, and that's why they've got to account to the provinces as to how many passengers they have carried, because we subsidize per passenger journey. And they've got to prove to us that they have taken through so many passengers and transported them in a month. Indirect subsidies speaks to what we do with DTI in the automotive development package, in which we subsidize within the economic development zones and industrial development zones the setting up of outfits to manufacture vehicles, and we give subsidies to things like electricity, to plant equipment. We even give once-off grant 50 million for them to do refitment and refurbishing of the production lines and so on, so that we keep the cost of buying vehicles lower, to be cheaper. So when we come to the taxi industry, seeing that territory, it's quite huge. It's not anything like the bus or the train, what we have been spending. Minister is correct. The financial implications are quite huge. So therefore, the discussions and the roundtables we are having with the National Treasury in discussions around this speaks to both direct and indirect financing in terms of subsidy. In the direct one, which we are looking at, we look at in the main two things really. Well, three, and I'll explain the third one. But first and foremost, we're looking at the cost of finance, subsidizing that. Right now, you know, some providers in the taxi industry, and President Bosch, I'm sorry, but some of them, including their partners, they are giving to the normal operator a raw deal in terms of the percentages of interest that they are asking for. So the cost of financing of getting money to buy a car is quite huge. And in other instances, people are charged interest rates as high as 28%. This simply is not sustainable for the operator to really make money. But we have state institutions such as the Small Enterprise Finance Agency. And we are looking at capitalizing a portion of CIFA to make sure that it can have a taxi finance arm, which can look at financing and making the interest rates quite affordable. So we're looking at financing capital, and that will make sure that ultimately what the operator pays back is quite lower. The other is to continue and expand on the automotive package with DTI to make sure that the cost of buying the vehicles itself and the vehicle is subsidized, so that if you were to pay, I'm just throwing numbers, don't quote me on this, I'm just using it as an example. If you were to, the taxi costs, the vehicle costs about 800,000. If we agree that we are going to subsidize that by 200,000, that then gives you that the operator buys it with cheap money and buys a cheap vehicle at 600,000. So that gives you a picture to maintain the cost down so that the operator really can make money. And then we can explore, as we are doing, on issues like tax rebates and so forth. But in exchange for this, then the regulatory arm of the state must be stronger. Then the NPTR, the National Public Transport Regulator, has got to work its magic quite strongly. Same way that NERSA has to apply ESCOM will have to apply to NERSA for a tariff to charge consumers. The taxi associations now will have to justify their expenditure and costs and ensure that the prices of commute make sense route by route, and that those determinations and frameworks can be done. So that's why Minister says that the task team that will come representing industry and government will have to finalize these modalities that can be finalized at a Lekgotla like this. What we can finalize here in consultation is the broad parameters and framework of saying we are going to subsidize. Is it acceptable? And can we look at both direct and indirect subsidies in this regard? And of course, tax rebates then will look like that, and whether we'll also explore with the Treasury the affordability of perhaps a grant or the expansion of the PTOG, or whichever the case might be, that goes directly into the pocket of the operator. But for now, as a start, we are looking at the commuter being the end user benefiting from the entire scheme by keeping the overheads of the industry quite lower. And I think that that is the plot we are going with, and how this will also impact on the household expenditure. Will we decrease prices? Well, I doubt. I doubt we would. Most of the new regulatory impositions we are going to make on the industry will swallow the savings that they actually would have made. And in what way? If we insist on clean cars, as an example, a taxi driver who used to wash his car once a week now must wash it every day, or if it's a long distance, after every passenger journey. Then and sanitize it and keep it to the industry and all of that. If we're expecting to find regular fleet renewal or recapitalization of the taxis at a much more regular basis, so that we no longer see cars that have traveled more than 1 million kilometers and they are still on the road. And the breakdowns are there, and they are like moving coffins and so on. If you want renewal of fleet from time, and we are to regulate that, as aeroplanes are regulated, that they must be checked and inspected before departure. As in trains, the rolling stock must run for 10 years, decommissioned, general overhaul, return back. If you are to introduce such rules to taxis, then it means that they would have to renew their vehicles much more frequently than that, and that builds on the overheads. If you are expecting proper customer care, then they need to pay a minimum wage to the workers, the drivers, the taxi association. They'll have to buy them uniforms. They need to keep the taxi ranks clean. They need to have working toilets there, so plumbing costs, all of that. So all these new impositions of finance, which have a financial implication, the savings will be utilized really to service this. So, but what is important is that at what the commuter is paying now, they must then get a better deal in terms of the better services that they see. So that's what I would say from what has been raised. Thank you.
Thank you so much, DG. Very briefly, President Taibosh, if you may address us. I'm mindful of time. I know our media colleagues must still go and file, so just short remarks, a response from you, please.
Yeah, I think number one is that one of the drivers. I'm very happy that we had civil society here, we had the unions here. I think COSATU is here, is represented. They should be able to respond to such a question, but I want to indicate that what has happened before this an intense communication went through, using even the community radio stations to make sure that the message gets through. But what we will continue doing from this particular Lekgotla, we will continue to engage and ensure that our drivers are informed about of what is going to happen, the changes that are coming. And I must indicate to you, our Hlokomela program this year will be making 10 years, and in celebrating it, we want to celebrate that program with the Minister of Women in the Presidency, and we want to make sure that the taxi industry has a voice towards the gender-based violence in this country. So I think COSATU will respond on this, one of the drivers, but I think the department and Santaco should be applauded for the communications which they sent out. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, President Taibosh. Honorable Minister of the Department of Transport, Minister Mbalula, the floor is yours for the final say.
There is a well-known communicator who relied on repetition. As important in communication
because that will bring you closer to your audience to understand exactly what you are talking about. Without saying one thing once off, it doesn't get to be understood and captured by the audience. I wish to repeat to say formalization is important, regulating the industry is important. It was important for us, for this Lekgotla, to get agreement on these issues. From now on, the focus of the minister is going to be on implementation. So to me, the implementation task team is going to be, and the devil is in the detail. And the DG was speaking directly to that. The detail of how you are going to see subsidization implemented. It's going to have an impact in all of these things. How you are going to see the empowerment model implemented is important because it reinforces formalization of the industry, and how we are going to see that formalization taking off from the point of purchasing the vehicle. How does that have an impact in the pocket of the owner is going to be important in the next coming year, financial year, going forward in how we basically reprioritize. So just to make you understand, from here on, we'll establish the implementation task team for the resolutions. That will include Santaco and the government, and that will include all the role players that will bring on board. And then we'll launch that, and we'll then implement this brick by brick. From formalization, what are the issues that we actually need to implement, and we need to accelerate. But the 1st of April in the new financial year for us in government is going to be very important. But in government, we are working with Treasury. We are working with law enforcement agencies on some of the issues, and the taxi industry will be part of that, and these law enforcement agencies will be part of that. And then from here, I'm going to take these resolutions to Cabinet, and then Cabinet to know what have we agreed in this Lekgotla. And then from there, it's implementation going forward. And I'm very excited, wish to repeat, that we have now found each other on matters of formalization, on matters of regulation, on how we are going to take matters of unity forward, even with those who are not part of this Lekgotla. We are going to bring them on board to continue to engage with them on concrete issues about the taxi industry going forward. Matters of rebates will be looked at in terms of implementation, the empowerment model, and how we're going to regulate the industry to benefit the industry itself. We're going to be looking at that in terms of implementation. So I'm excited about this Lekgotla and the possibilities out of it that are going to change the industry for the better. So I hope at the end of the new financial year, we look back and we look at to this Lekgotla and say, we took these decisions, how far have we gone? Because this is going to be an annual thing, to look at the taxi industry and the implementation of the Lekgotla's resolution, and based on the financial year, to say how far have we gone to implement some of the things that we agreed we needed to implement. I'm looking forward to regulating the e-hailing industry in the context of the taxi in our country. Excited about the work Blade Nzimande started and the team in this department in terms of regulating the taxi industry, and Joe Maswanganyi. They did a splendid job, and now we're taking that to the final conclusion with the taxi industry.